Hi, and welcome to, I believe, video 2, which is where we're talking about why we are more than just a product. So last time we learned a little bit more about how we're holistically changing, nurturing change in Zambia. And now we're going to start focusing in on every one of our steps, every one of our pillars of how we seek to see people change in Zambia. So today we're talking about education, and Tracy's back.
Hi, it's me.
Just to talk about how education really is one of the foundational pillars of RecycloCraftz. So why is there a need for education in Zambia?
The statistics for education are atrocious in Zambia. Even in Kamanga, which is the ghetto slum township that we work in, functional literacy rate in the 7th grade is only 14%. Abstract math reasoning is 0. They don't know how to problem solve and do math in their heads. But that means they can't figure out the problems, how to do something different in life. If you face a challenge, can you think about some other ideas? Let's brainstorm. Let's come up with other options. And they don't know how to do that. But that problem-solving skill begins young. As a child, I'm an occupational therapist, a pediatric occupational therapist. I homeschooled my 8 kids for 30 years. And I see the importance of learning, foundational learning. So if you can't put a puzzle together, you can't problem solve. The other thing too is the student-teacher ratio in Kamanga is 168 to 1. Wow. So education, and that's just in the capital city. That is not in the rural areas at all.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's definitely a need, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that get in the way of people receiving an education?
Money. That's the first thing, is if you only have $2 a day, a used pair of shoes costs about $10. And not only are Zambian families struggling to educate their own children, but you still have the impact of a generation of AIDS orphans. And so my artisans are caring for their own children, plus then the orphans of their loved ones, friends, sisters, whatever. If you manage to get enough money to buy a pair of shoes, it'll probably go to the boy before it goes to the girl. And then girls face the challenge of when they hit adolescence and their bodies change, they start missing school because they can't manage their cycles and school at the same time. If a girl can manage, then she may look for help for her educational fees, and that might be from an older man, and that older man expects a lot of the young lady in return, and she may easily end up pregnant and then drop out of school also. So it's a big challenge. Most of my women they've not completed grade 12.
Wow. Yeah, that's striking. So how do we as RecycloCraftz help people receive this education?
Sure. Well, we're providing income, we're providing money. And in a country where the unemployment rate is over 47%, most of my people never had any stable income. Most of my women's husbands, if they are married, they don't have steady income either. So just by providing income, even though ours is not steady weekly income, it is money that they can budget and pay for school fees. Oh, wow. So that's one of those areas. Again, as that homeschooler mom with children that just read incessantly, I love books. And we have free shipping to Zambia. And so we have 2 significant libraries at our ministry center, which is cool. One is a biblical studies library, and that's available to pastors and other people in the community that want access to concordances and study books for preaching and teaching and that kind of thing. And then the other is a community library, and it starts with, we have little baby cardboard books, and we have all the way up to missionary biographies and adult fiction and everything in between. Initially, the women had said, Aunt Tracy, why are you always trying to get us to read? And I said, because reading takes you places. It broadens your perspective. And so to that end, that's a part of what we do to educate and give an opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any personal stories of some of the women who have been impacted by education specifically?
Sure. There are 2 that come to mind. One woman is a lady named Patricia Nyrenda. She didn't even speak English when she started in the project. And so she went to our library and got out a book it's a Richard Scarry first 1,000 words for children kind of book. And those are those pages where here's the kitchen and here's the stove and the table and the chair and the oven and plates and dishes. That's how you can learn to speak English. And so Patricia just kept borrowing that book all the time. And now, again, 12 years later, Patricia speaks English, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. And another lady is a woman named Marianan Kalolwe. And she didn't speak very much English, or she was super cautious and afraid to really try her English. Mm-hmm. She never went to school either. And so in 2012, one of her goals was to go to first grade. And then by 2017, one of her goals was to go to fourth grade. So she was making progress, even though her two older daughters, she has 5 daughters, her 2 older daughters are school teachers, but mom had never gotten any education. Both Mary and Patricia, there's a picture on some of our product or our promotional materials. It's a picture of me sitting in the dirt teaching people to read, because that's what I love to do. And those 2 women are Mary and Patricia. And then there's a third woman named Beatrice Banda. And I said, why are you sitting here listening? And she says, because I want to learn how to teach somebody to read, which is cool. So there are people on all spectrums, just like there are here. And educational enrichment and literacy development are a huge component of what I seek to do when I move back to Zambia.
That's cool. Yep. That's awesome. So last question, what are our future plans? What's our long-term goals for education?
Sure. One of the big things is this educational enrichment program. I don't see myself starting a school at present. There's a lot of red tape and responsibilities and requirements that I don't see myself getting involved with. But an educational enrichment, like an after-school program, but for adults as well as the children of our artisans, we have to kind of keep some boundaries in place. And so that's our focus right now, is our artisans and their families. And it'll grow and expand and include others. But that educational enrichment center, where we're not only doing the library and the puzzles and all those learning toys that as an occupational therapist I understand are just integral to that learning process. Mm-hmm. So we seek to be raising big funds to purchase property and get that going as I return. And then also another long-term, as I've been talking, it's mostly about the city ministry, but I have a good friend just 45 minutes from where we work in the city, and you're in the bush, and people are living in huts. And we're not talking about 9 hours away. We're talking not just outside the city. And there's no school in his village for 10 miles. We would seek to build a community school, so and probably be in coordination with some of the salaries for a teacher to teach out there. So that's a beginning, and it'll impact lives. Yeah. Huge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning into our, first video-ish talking about some of the ways that we're changing lives in Zambia. I hope you learned a little bit more about us. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any one of us. We're happy to talk more. All right. Thanks, guys.